Hi, more Cowbell, Mississippi State podcast. It's signing day. Woo! Yay! Signing day at Mississippi State. And I got a question before we get started. Who's going to play my intro music? You're going to play it. Okay, good. Only got one. Only Landshark today. Terp out on the road for signing day. Georgia signing every five-star in the Southeast. He's out on the road. So I got Landshark. Just me and Landshark. Friends and friend. I don't know. It's a terrible combination. I'm the talent. She's also on the team. What's up, fam? Hey, Stephen Mills. Hello, Shannon Davis. Hail State from Saltillo, Mac McBrayer. So signing day, right? Signing some players. Don't you love it? Just seems like signing day has arrived, so everybody should love it. No? Nothing? Okay. Hail State from Portland, Oregon. Tim Franks. Hail State from Mark Childs. Reed Burrell says you need air guitar lessons, Brandon. I would agree with that. Hail State from Hernando. Hello, Ginger Tuck. Are you always in Hernando? Why is Ole Miss ahead of us in recruiting? Who cares? I don't, like, if we finish 28th and they finish 27th, are you really upset about that? Because I'm not. Awesome game last night. We'll definitely talk about that. Tom Lawrence says need Tylen Knight from Pearl. He is signing with Ole Miss. Wouldn't worry about that. Not as exciting with the new early signing day. Well, certainly, definitely this signing day has lost a lot of its luster. But State signed a player they needed to sign today, Fabian Lovett. Big-time guy. And now it looks like you'll have to help me during the show. I think Aaron Brule from Louisiana is going to be announcing. So at 1 o'clock Eastern at 12 your time, I believe he'll be announcing. So please tell me. Okay, Justin Tidwell, you care. If you think if Ole Miss finishing 27th and Mississippi State finishing 28th bothers you, then let it bother you. That's fine. If they finish third and we finish 28th, yeah, now I got a problem. We're getting everyone we have targeted so far. Keep it up, says Stephen Mills. Good morning from the command center in Meridian, says Scott Murphy Vaughn. Hail State from Snohomish, Washington via Madison, Mississippi. Bill Anderson, hello. I live in Nesbitt. Now it's the city, so we're Hernando now. Ginger Tuck. Beautiful Nesbitt. Downtown Nesbitt. Well, you never had a party unless you've been to a Nesbitt party. I care. They usually beat us. Yeah, Ole Miss beats us every year in recruiting, and give them credit. They won the Egg Bowl this year, but would you trade any part of our roster outside of receivers for theirs right now? Would you trade anything about Mississippi State athletics for anything Ole Miss outside of those wide receivers? No, you probably wouldn't. So why are we talking about Ole Miss? Why did you guys bring Ole Miss to the table? I don't know. Hail State from Boynton Beach, Florida. It only matters what happens on the field, Mac McBrayer. It does. That's all that matters. And they beat us. They have the egg right now, so that's what matters. I don't care if they beat us in February. They do that every year. It's mostly fake. Jay Hammer says, I could care less what they do. They love signing day, winning signing day. Nick Weatherspoon hit a shot last night that reminded me of MJ and one of his many finals appearances. Excited to see how he develops. Yeah. Nick Weatherspoon, I think everybody talks about Lamar Peters and how him playing better makes the team good, but Nick Weatherspoon's been excellent lately. Excellent. We will we'll talk about basketball. We'll talk about football. It's going to be mostly signing day. I got 20 minutes set aside for signing day. I got 10 minutes set aside to talk about basketball. Going to be a smooth show. We're going to go quick today. Not going to have today's top five. Just going to go one take because I got to get out of the studio. We got a lot of other acts scheduled to follow. Is that about right? Got other people wanting the studio time? You don't need a mic. I don't want to talk to you. Hey, Brandon. Hello, Jessica.
Here I am.
Hi. Ole Miss is writing checks? I don't know about that. I mean, it's not like they're recruiting. I mean, Mississippi State has recruited a class full of players it needed. They have addressed positions of need. Outside of one, offensive line is a question mark going forward. However, outside of one, they got the receivers they needed. They got the quarterback of the future. They got a big-time defensive lineman for the future today. So I'm good. I'm happy. According to ESPN, State is 27 and Ole Miss is 32. Can we make the Brandon Walker versus Terp one-on-one basketball game happen? See, Joseph, you know how that would go. They don't know. They don't know here. They don't have a clue. Point City in the house. Hello, Wesley Coggins. Not Brandon, you're the best. Thank you, Grace Thacker. Good, I appreciate that. All right, Landshark, you ready to get this party started shortly? We are going to talk about signing day. I've got several observations. A lot has gone on this morning. And then we'll talk about the basketball game last night. Huge, probably the biggest basketball game for men's basketball of this decade. Last night was the biggest game. 18-6, 6-5. Start worrying about the NCAA tournament. It's okay to do that now. I didn't think it was okay. Steve Wallace, hey man, checking in from L.A. Good to see you, Steve. He's a longtime friend of mine, big buddy. Hello, Brandon from Sand Hill, Mississippi. Hello, Jason Brinson. Stephen Mills says, ring that cowbell. Well, not till the show starts. I'm going to scare those people getting food over there. We got signing day food, and they're standing there in line, and I'm going to scare them to death. All right, we'll talk about signing day and basketball. That's today's show. It's going to be tight. It's going to be good. Let's do it. Let's try that again. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be tight. It's going to be airtight. Let's do it.
It's the More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of the More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
That's me, Brandon Walker, More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. We are a razor-sharp machine today on signing day. Boy, we are well-oiled here at SEC Country. In the SEC Country Studios in Atlanta. I only got one producer today, and she went to Ole Miss, so this is a mess. We're doing what we can. National Signing Day. Oh, excuse me. National Signing Day is here. I don't know why we still call it National Signing Day. Not when you already have a signing day 2 months ago where 75% of the 4- and 5-star players committed and signed. So I guess we can still call it National Signing Day, even though we've already gotten rid of most of the great players. However, there were still some players to get. There were still some players out there that State needed to get, and they got one, a big one today, Fabian Lovett out of Olive Branch. That's a win State needed on the recruiting trail. We've had some wins, we've had some losses. We've had some good signs, we've had some bad signs. So we'll talk about everything signing day on this show. I've got most of the show dedicated to signing day because we're in the middle of it right now. And I got to tell you, if you're watching on Facebook Live, I need you to help me. During this show, in about 6 minutes, I think Aaron Brule out of Louisiana is scheduled to sign with somebody. So I need you to tell me who it is. I need you to watch and tell me who exactly it is that he signs with. Because if it's State, that gives me another talking point. If it's not State, that also gives me another talking point. But you know what? Signing day is not the biggest deal. Signing day is not the only big deal. National Signing Day today, but last night, probably the biggest basketball game in a decade in the Humphrey Coliseum for the men's basketball team. Probably the biggest basketball game in at least 6 or 7 years, certainly the biggest of the Ben Howland era. State goes 17-6, and they enter 5-5, and they play Alabama. And you guys know Alabama. Every time we're good in basketball, or every time we play meaningful games, it always seems like Alabama is a sneaky little rivalry for us in basketball. The Alabama rivalry in basketball has always been more important than the Ole Miss rivalry. And I just think that last night was a big watershed moment for this program. I'm no longer saying this team is turning the corner. I think the corner is behind them. It's just a matter of how good will we be next year. Can we make the tournament this year? We are solidly an NIT team. I'm going way too far. We'll talk about this later. But I will talk about that basketball game. I'll definitely get to that. Big win for Mississippi State. Women's basketball signs another 5-star. I swear, don't sign up to be recruited for Mississippi State women's basketball if you're not a 5-star, because I don't think you're going to make it. That's all that guy does is goes out and gets 5-star players. This one came from UConn. But signing day is what's on everybody's mind. Signing day is what we're going to talk about the most today, as Mississippi State I got to be honest, kind of limped into signing day. I mean, they didn't come into signing day roaring like a lion. This new staff they haven't gone out and gotten 9 or 10 guys that just make you go, wow. But again, they put so much hay in the barn in December. They put so many good players on the team in December. I think this was always bound to disappoint. and we'll get to that. I feel like the split signing day with an early signing period in December. Let me carefully word what I want to say here. I feel like that split signing day has allowed negativity to creep into a recruiting class that doesn't really deserve it. I feel like it has colored the recruiting class as somewhat of a disappointment when it is absolutely not a disappointment at all. For what we need, outside of one position, offensive line is a concern. I'll get to that later. This is an excellent class. This is a class that addresses needs with good players. You talk about guys like four-star Malik Heath and Stephen Guidry and Devontae Jason all coming in to shore up that receiver position. You talk about the quarterback of the future in Jalen Maiden, a four-star winner out of Texas. Marcus Murphy, a four-star do-everything type of guy out of Point City we don't even know where he's going to play, but I just know he's going to do a good job wherever it is. Got guys like Brad Cumbus, who I think is ridiculously underrated at tight end. Jet Johnson, the linebacker from Tupelo. Terrific building block for the defense in the future. The early class was excellent, but the split signing day allowed there to be another month. It allowed state fans to hear about other players that they wanted to go after. It allowed us to focus on the negatives of this class, and for a month, we were wondering, would he close with this? Would he close with that? What would Moorhead be able to do? Now, today, he got a big win. Joe Moorhead got a big win. Fabian Lovett, a four-star now defensive tackle out of Olive Branch, who committed to Mississippi State, decommitted on New Year's Eve. Some felt when that happened, including myself, he was headed to Ole Miss. It just felt like Ole Miss shenanigans. But it came down to Mississippi State and Florida. And if you follow this whole kerfuffle, this whole fracas, whatever you want to call it, it was touch and go for a while. It was interesting. Last night he tweeted out that he was not going to sign today. And this morning he tweeted out that he wanted to sign today, but his dad wouldn't sign off on where he wanted to go. So that led people to wonder, what's going on here? Well, it turns out I think the dad wanted Florida. I think the player wanted Mississippi State. And in the end, Fabian Lovett, a four-star defensive tackle out of Olive Branch, signs with Mississippi State. It's a big win. Joe Moorhead didn't just beat Ole Miss. He beat Florida. He beat Dan Mullen. He beat a guy who had a connection to Fabian Lovett, who got the last visit. Now, beating Dan Mullen in recruiting, not that big of a deal, but certainly Mullen made a late run at this guy. It's big time for this staff to stare down the Ole Miss propaganda machine, because I believe that decommitment in January was Ole Miss pulling those strings. I'll never not believe that. Now you have a guy who's a building block for the future of the defensive line. After Jeffrey Simmons is in the NFL making millions of dollars, after Montez Sweat is making millions of dollars in the NFL, after all these guys leave, you've got Fabian Lovett to build around, Fabian Lovett and others. So that's a big-time get. And you can talk about the offensive lineman that got away, other players that might have got away, Eddie Smith, the cornerback that went to Alabama. But when you talk about signing day 2018, I think it begins and ends with Fabian Lovett. That's a big-time sign by this coaching staff. Sias Ferge signed this morning. Clarksdale cornerback Jalen Reed, the Olive Branch quarterback, signed. A couple of players that probably are developmental guys, but could play a role down in the future, especially Sias Ferge. Aaron Brule, again, will commit during this show or sign during the show. I don't know who it's going to be with. Hopefully somebody will let me know. Cameron Jones, an offensive lineman out of Starkville, got a late offer today, and he said that he'll announce his plans at 1:30. Now, I'm not going to be Mr. Sunshine pumping, but for some reason, people reached out to me today. I had two separate, unprovoked, high school football coaches at two major high schools, talent-wise, in North Mississippi. Probably the two greatest programs in North Mississippi. Both reached out to me. And one of them said this: here's your real scouting report for Cameron Jones. He has size. He has a mean streak. His best football is ahead of him. He's done a lot in the classroom to recover. He wasn't in good shape last year. Plus, Hevesy sucked and never came to evaluate him. That was from a coach in a very important high school in North Mississippi. That is not Point City. Got others who said, I told another assistant coach, I said, we offered a Starkville offensive lineman named Cameron Jones, and he says, I think that's their badass left tackle. He has a real mean streak. Not sure if he's Kobe's brother, but he is nasty. A really good athlete, probably a Dylan Day type. So I'm not trying to blow smoke up your skirt, but I'm having it blown up my skirt. I'm just passing it along from a couple of offensive line coaches in high school football in the state of Mississippi. So Cameron Jones, you can talk about Jalen Robinson. He went to Kansas, a 3-star offensive lineman today. You can talk about losing him, and yeah, that probably stinks. But we offered Elton Jenkins at the last minute, and he's been one of our best offensive linemen the last couple of years. And I just wonder if Cameron Jones could grow into that. Am I going to predict that? No. I don't want to be that guy that's just Mr. Everything is great. But I didn't say it. Those guys did. But the offensive line recruiting is an issue. And it's not really a Moorhead issue. It's a leftover Mullen issue. He signed one high school offensive lineman that made it to campus last year. They signed one in the early signing period this year. Perhaps we add Cameron Jones later today, and that'll be 2. But you're still way behind on numbers. That means in 2019, you'll have to really crunch down and really bear down and get some offensive line numbers in here. And that is something Moorhead and staff will have to work on. That's a hole developing. It's not a hole yet. State still has one of the best offensive lines in the SEC for 18 and probably 19. But it's a hole that's possibly developing down the road. Moorhead has to cut that off. I don't see any reason to say he won't. We'll just see. The misses in this class, Eddie Smith, like I said, cornerback, going to Alabama. Listen, he's from Louisiana, no ties to Mississippi. Our staff did a good job on him. Ultimately, Alabama gave him an offer, and he took it. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed about there. I think Jerome Garvin was a miss. We had been on him for a while. He goes to Tennessee. I think the biggest miss of the class was from Mississippi. Now, State did a remarkable job in the state of Mississippi this year, and it's not by coming up with cute hashtags called Mississippi Made that aren't true. They just came up with a great class in the state of Mississippi. I think they got 9 of the top 10 or 8 of the top 10, something like that. Talking Lovett, Murphy, Heath, all of those guys. State dominated the state of Mississippi this year. However, the one that got away was Cole Smith, the offensive lineman out of Pontotoc. And that's a miss. That's a miss at a very critical position. And I don't think you can put it on the current staff. I think you put it on the old staff because the current staff tried to overcome what the old staff built, and that was a relationship that was piss poor. But the current staff couldn't quite overcome that. Now, ultimately, is Cole Smith a difference maker? I don't know. He could be. He could be. His dad was a player at Mississippi State. But ultimately, I think Mississippi State missing on Cole Smith will hurt Smith more in the long run. Because right now, if you're signing up to go play for that dumpster fire that's developing in Baton Rouge for Ed Orgeron, the worst coach in the SEC, good luck to you. That's all I got to say about that. Cole Smith might be an All-American. He might be great. He comes from a good family out here. He's a good player. But that program is about to be a mess. Let me get to my main point. And it seems like I should have gotten there already. But my main point, let's check on the Facebook Live real quick. How are people taking this? Somebody said, didn't Cameron Jones sign with Louisiana Lafayette? No, he hasn't done that yet. He has not done that yet. I believe he has got papers from Mississippi State, and I think common knowledge is that he's probably going to sign with Mississippi State, although he might sign with Lafayette. And if he signed with them in the last 5 minutes, excuse me, I had to do a show. But here's my main point, and I wanted to bring this up, and I brought it up before. I feel like State fans, and I include myself in this because I'm a State fan. I'm not an unbiased journalist. I'm a Mississippi State fan. These cowbells aren't for decoration, and I'll ring the hell out of them. I feel like State fans focus way too much on the negatives and too little on the positives. You look at who we missed, you look at the offensive line situation developing, and some State fans on message boards want to act like this was a bad class. This was not a bad class. This was a good class, a very good class. You got your receivers, you got your quarterback, you got all that. I feel like our recent recruiting hasn't gotten enough credit, and that even goes back to Dan Mullen. The line is Dan Mullen can't recruit, right? If our recruiting has been so terrible lately, if we haven't been able to recruit in the last 2 or 3 years, why is Mississippi State so loaded for 2018? Why does Mississippi State have the best quarterback group in the SEC for 18? Why do they have one of the best running back groups? Why do they have one of the best offensive lines? Why do they have the best defensive line maybe in America in 2018? Why do they have an excellent linebacker group? If they can't recruit, why do we have all that? Because we have been able to recruit. We just buy into the negativity on signing day every single year and act like the players that we did get aren't good, and we lionize the players we didn't get. We do that as a fan base. Now, across the state, Ole Miss fans do the exact opposite. They act like the guys they got are all going to be NFL All-Pros next year, and the guys they missed aren't going to qualify. They focus on the positives at all times. We focus on the negatives. 2016 is a good example. When we missed out on A.J. Brown, that stunk. We missed out on a very good player that would help us a lot. But our fan base came out of 2016 signing day focused on A.J. Brown and missing him. Ole Miss came out focusing on A.J. Brown signing him. They didn't focus on losing Jeffrey Simmons, and we didn't focus on signing Jeffrey Simmons, even though he is one of the best players in the country. We always just focus on the negative and not the positive. 2011 is another great example. 2011 is the first year we thought the sky was falling in recruiting under Dan Mullen. We freaked out after losing Nicholas Brazel, after losing Tobias Singleton, after losing C.J. Johnson, after losing Jermaine Whitehead. Folks, there's not a player in that group. There's not a player in that group. Who do we sign? Dak Prescott, Preston Smith, Darius Slay, Bernardrick McKinney, Josh Robinson. We settled. And those players kicked ass for Mississippi State for 4 and 5 years. So it's easy to focus on the ones you miss. It's easy to focus on the ones you didn't. Why don't we focus on Marcus Murphy, Malik Heath, Stephen Guidry, Jalen Maiden, Fabian Lovett? These are players. That's all I got to say about it. If I'm being a cheerleader, so be it. If I'm being a homer, so be it. I can wear that. But I like this class. And somebody on the Facebook Live said, what if Ole Miss finishes ahead of us in recruiting? What if they do? What if they do? We're going to finish around where we've been finishing, between 20 and 30, which we've finished the last 5 years. And we are loaded for 2018. Why wouldn't I believe that's going to continue? Mississippi State, is basketball back? Is basketball back? We've asked that question all year. And, yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it. Mississippi State basketball wins over Alabama last night in one of the biggest games in the Humphrey Coliseum in years. Mississippi State and Alabama. Alabama, a solid tournament team, although it's getting a little shaky. The ground's starting to turn to quicksand around them. But Mississippi State is going the opposite direction. Mississippi State's headed straight up. They were 2-5 in the SEC 2 weeks ago. And everybody just assumed we were headed towards another mediocre season, but they turned it around. They started playing team basketball offensively. They continue to play excellent defense. They're the best defensive team in the SEC, thanks to that man on the screen, Ben Howland. He has instilled great defense in this team. Even when they don't have a good shooting night, they can win because they're going to hold somebody to 55, 60 points. This is a good team. Right now. Now, they're still young. Will they take a turn? I don't know. But I think it is safe to start thinking, start worrying about the NCAA tournament. I think we're safely in the NIT. And you start thinking, can this team make the NCAA tournament? What do they have to do to make the NCAA tournament? It's a good question. It's a very good question. Last night went a long way. It went a long way into making that a possibility. We had to start building our Alabama good RPI team. We had to start building good RPI wins. We got to beat Tennessee when they come in a couple of weeks. Now, they're the second best team in the league. They're excellent. But they come to Starkville. That will be the new biggest game in the last 10 years when they come to Starkville. Actually, the Ole Miss game next weekend might be the new biggest game in Starkville in 10 years. But I just really like the mindset and the toughness of this team. Is it always pretty? No. God, no. It is the opposite of pretty. It is the Brandon Walker of pretty. It is ugly, quite. And it is, last night was not an oil painting. It was hard to watch. Often I turned away. But at the end, 67 for Mississippi State, 63 for Alabama. I got to tell you about a couple of players. The Weatherspoons are completely carrying us right now. A lot of focus has been on Lamar Peters and how he's played better lately, and it's true. But Nick Weatherspoon has been excellent. Absolutely excellent. He's a freshman. The future is bright with Nick Weatherspoon. You got those two guys, Peters and Spoon, and they give you two potentially, in their career, elite point guards. But Little Spoon has been excellent lately. He has been, I think, the biggest difference in this team being a, can we get to the NIT bubble, to, hey, we're on the NCAA tournament bubble and we're going to be a hard out for somebody. This team is very, very tough. 18-6 now, 6-5, tied for 4th in the SEC with Alabama and Kentucky. Did you ever in a million years 2 weeks ago think that sentence would come out of my mouth? We're tied with Kentucky. They have 29 5-stars. We're tied with Alabama. They got Colin Sexton, a bunch of other good players. And Mississippi State is right there with them. We can talk about the NCAA tournament as a potential possibility now. Mizzou is up next. Road game at Mizzou. They're tough. They're good too. We beat them at home. They're going to be tough at Missouri. They're right there on that tournament bubble with us. They are well coached. Quanzo Martin, they're tough too. It will be an ugly 62 to 60 game. Will not be pretty. Then we got Vandy. We got to get that one. Got to beat Vandy on the road. Got to beat LSU on the road. Those are the last two very, very winnable games on the road. If you can go 2-2 on the road from here on out, I'm talking about at A&M, at Mizzou, at Vandy, at LSU, go 2-2 and then take care of business in your home games. I don't see how you don't get in. I don't see how you don't get in. Even if we split Mizzou and Vandy the next week and then beat Ole Miss to sleep at home, I'm going to feel really good about our team. Because, frankly, it's time to assert our ownership over the state in basketball again. I'm tired of being owned by Andy Kennedy. He's not a good coach. It's not a good program. And they've won 8 of the last 9 against us. That's unacceptable. Now we're heading in the right direction. It's time to turn this state around in basketball. Ole Miss should not beat Mississippi State this often. One last thing. And like I said, it's going to be a quick show today. We'll get out of here. No, I have a 1:30 meeting. Has Aaron Brule committed to anybody yet? Signed with anybody? Anybody going to tell me? I guess he hasn't. Brule's choice is coming up, so I call him Brule and Brule. I do both. I don't know which one's correct, so I just do both. But I'll spend some time right now. I got to say something. College basketball has a major officiating problem. And I'm glad we won last night. That way it doesn't sound like sour grapes. Because that game was almost unwatchable due to the Ted Valentine and his merry band of officials crew. That was awful. Over 50 fouls called. There were 5 3-pointers. There were 10 times more fouls called than 3-pointers made in that game. That's hard to watch. That is absolutely hard to watch. And it's not just our game. Kentucky-Tennessee was terrible. Officials too often call what they think's going to happen or what they think happened without seeing what happened. They call over the backs that aren't over the backs. They call charges blocks and blocks charges. They don't know what a travel is. They have no idea what the rules of basketball are, but they dominate basketball games in 2018. It's ridiculous. College basketball has got to fix this. If I'm a fan of a Midland team, which I've been for many, many years now, if I'm a fan of a Midland team, why the hell am I watching college basketball? Because the content and the product is straight hot garbage. Thank goodness we're winning now. Thank goodness we're winning. Because that's the only reason to watch. Haven't really, still waiting on Brule here, Brule. He's down in Louisiana. He's a 3-star safety/linebacker. Things have been trending Mississippi State's way, but it could be Arkansas or State. I think that's who it's down to. So, boy, if he doesn't commit in the next 2 minutes, he's committing now? You're watching him? He committed to who? He committed to Mississippi State? You know what that deserves? That deserves a cowbell. You know what? 2 cowbells? Fantastic. No, I can't ring this one. This one's too rusty inside. Rust would go everywhere. It'd be awful. So Aaron, whatever his name is, Brule has signed with Mississippi State. That is excellent. That is excellent. That's good news. That's the second nice big-time player State has gotten in this today. Fabian Levitt first, and now Brule. I'm just going to call him both. I can't ring the third cowbell. It's too rusty. All right, I'll ring the cowbell. Very rusty. It's that's good. That is excellent news. Joe Moorhead and staff doing work. You know, Arkansas had come into the picture. It seemed like he was leaning towards Arkansas, and then Mississippi State, and then back to Arkansas, and then back to State. And now Mississippi State signs Aaron Brule. So that's good. That's another building block for the future in the defense. You know, this defense is going to be excellent in 2018, but you got to start planning for the future. And Fabian Lovett and Aaron Brule are very good adds to this class. I don't see how this class isn't going to end up in the top 25. They got to end up close. If you've added Lovett and now you add this guy, I don't see how it's not going to finish top 25. I feel like it's going to be pretty good. Shouldn't have worn headphones. Well, you know, at Shannon Davis, that's what I do. So that's a good stopping point. If you're on the podcast, I'll stay with my Facebook Live audience, but if you're on the podcast, signing day, I think, has been a win for Mississippi State. Scale of 1 to 10, has it been a 10? No, but it's certainly 6 or 7. 6 or 7. I would say Lovett and Brule now are terrific additions to Mississippi State. And I look forward now to the calendar turning and Joe Moorhead having a chance to get a running start at 2019. And let's see what this staff can really do. Let's see what they can really do, because right now they were just tasked with keeping the car in the road, and they did it. Now they got the keys, and they can take it out on the open highway, and let's see what happens. I'm excited. State's going to be a great football team in 2018. Let's start building for the future. Until next time, my name is Brandon Walker. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. All right. Good. So you know where to stop the recording of the podcast, don't you? You got everything? I hope that was the number one. That's all I can tell you. Can we decide if it's Brule or Brule? Can somebody tell me that? Steve Robertson said Brule the other day, but I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. He's got tattoos, you know, and ponytails and dreadlocks. Aaron. I should just call him Aaron. I think you're right. Just call him Aaron. Would a run in the NIT be better for the program than an early elimination in the NCAA tournament? Absolutely not. No. Under no circumstances. One game and out in the NCAA tournament will be much, much better than going to the NIT championship and winning it. Much better. I know where your head's at. And you're saying for the experience and learning to win and all that, I got you. But getting into the tournament would be a huge shot in the arm for this program. It's the second one. I don't remember what the first one was. Brule or Brule? Okay, so we're saying Brule. Okay. Valentine needs to retire. No way Adu walked. What a pitiful call. Yeah, that guy, college basketball needs to do something about him. When it becomes more about the official and less about the game, you've got a major problem. We shouldn't know officials by their name, but everybody knows him because he makes sure everybody knows him. I disagree, Brandon. Young roster, NIT would be good. How in the world would NIT be better than the NCAA tournament? How in the world would that be better? If you win the NIT, you're 65th or 69th best in the country. There's nothing, that's nothing. NCAA tournament, one game far outweighs a 5-game run in the NIT. Not to say, if we make the NIT, I'm going to be all about it. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be fine. This is a team that needs postseason basketball. So if we got in the NIT and made a run, I would be right there with them. But if you're giving me the option of NIT championship or one game and out in the NCAA tournament, I'm taking the NCAA tournament. NIT is like saying, congrats, you're a loser, says Lance Chain. People say that to me all the time. My wife said that to me. My doctor said that to me when he handed me my kid. Hey, congrats, loser. And I'm like, got to beat Tennessee, best team left on our schedule. Yeah, have to. That's the big one. That's going to be a good RPI win if we can get it. Every big run we've ever gone on started with an NIT run. That doesn't mean the next run has to start that way. That doesn't mean the next run has to start that way. I know that in 90 we went to the NIT, in 91 we won the SEC championship. I know in 94 we went to the NIT, in 95 we went to the Sweet 16. But that doesn't mean we can't go to the NCAA tournament this year and still be ready for a big run next year. What are your thoughts on the preferred walk-on kicker that committed last night? I've heard nothing but good things about this guy. From Brandon High School, I believe, and I'm sorry, I don't know his name right now. But I liked us addressing the kicker position. Under Mullen, it was always show up in August and just see who's out there. We didn't know who the kicker was going to be. Now, right now, Jace Chrisman really had an excellent year, but I'd like to have another kicker in there to see if we can push him. And I think adding this preferred walk-on kicker, I like that. NIT gets you more games. Who cares? Who cares? More of less is not more. Let me say that again. More of less is not more. What's the deal with Scott Fountain? So he is headed back to Georgia. I think somebody just shared my video chat with me. He is going back to Georgia because I think what was the guy's name? Beamer. Shane Beamer, who was the special teams coordinator there, left, so it opened up a spot, and he got to go back. Don't like it. Not going to spend a lot of time worried about the special teams coordinator, but still don't like it. Kicker is Scott Goodman. Thank you, Jordan Goose Worrell. Bill Anderson says NCAA tourney much better for recruiting. Not even recruiting, just experience for the guys. Playing in a bigger game, playing in a bigger arena. Yeah, I just playing in the tournament atmosphere. So when we go next year, it's not foreign to us. You play in the NIT this year, that's great. You play on campus. You play next year in the NCAA tournament. I'd like to have some NCAA tournament experience. Yes, it is. NIT gets you more against quality opponents. Are we really having this discussion? I mean, at the end of the day, NIT is the not invited tournament. It doesn't matter who wins it. Let me ask you a question. Who won the NIT last year? Who won it the year before? I rest my case. If we get to 24 wins without the Tennessee win, they can't leave us out, right? I don't think so, Joel Edwards. I don't think so. I think we'd be okay at 24. 24 is a significant amount of wins. If you say Brule and it's actually Brule, then you look dumb. If you say Brule and it's actually Brule, then you look like a pretentious D-bag. Yep. I like to think I look like both. A dumb, pretentious D-bag. That's what I like to think I look like. Only one game matters, the next one. When was the offensive lineman supposed to announce Justin Kane Holiday? We're talking about Cameron Jones, I believe, 1:30 Central Time, so an hour and 7 minutes from now. I think, if I read his tweet correctly, that's when he is announcing his intentions. And again, I don't want to be Mr. Homer. I don't want to be that guy, but this Cameron Jones cat that we have offered late today, unprovoked, I got 2 offensive line coaches from Mississippi high school football text me, and they said this guy is good, and the recruiting guys missed on him. Not my words. You take that information and do with it whatever you'd like. Brule, he is Cajun. Is Metairie Cajun? I don't think Metairie's Cajun. I think you got to go a little west of Metairie, New Orleans, to be truly Cajun, right? TCU won the NIT last year. You looked it up. You Googled that. Don't know if you saw it, but Brule just picked us. Good. Good. I had not seen it, but that's great. Good. That's another good player. I like signing day so far. I'm good. I'm happy. What Hevesy missed on player? Well, yeah, I think Cole Smith was a Hevesy special. And we've seen a lot of those over the years. Scott Lashley was a Hevesy special. Deion Mix was a Hevesy special. To be fair, to be honest, if we missed on those guys because of Hevesy, are we really sad that we missed on them? I mean, neither have ever done anything yet. Cameron Jones is the real deal. Believe that, says Willie Harris. Dan Glenn says Metairie is pretty Cajun. I mean, because it's in Louisiana, but I'm talking about Lafayette, over there, where you can't understand what they're saying. That's what I'm talking about. And the food gets better. Although the food's great in New Orleans, too. All right. Good stuff. How you doing, Landshark? You good? You over there looking on Twitter and seeing who all Ole Miss has tried to buy today? I don't think the store's been open today for them. I hope they kept their receipt on some of them guys, too, because what's for lunch? Good question. Although, I can answer that one today. They gave us, for signing day, a Mexican buffet spread here, and I have gone back to it multiple times. I have had an embarrassing amount of steak tacos. We've beaten Mizzou, Bama, and Arkansas, all of which Lunardi is projecting in as of right now. With wins against teams he clearly views as better, how are we not projected in as of now? The reason we're not projected in is that low RPI and the schedule we had in the non-conference. If we keep going, he's not going to have any choice but to put us in. Not going to have a choice. I love Brandon Walker and arguing with him. I love the show. Appreciate the hard work and knowledge. Well, first of all, Micah, I have very little knowledge and I don't work hard even a little bit. What? Calm down over there. Enjoying a Terp-free day, says Bill Anderson. All right, signing day. Almost finished. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank Landshark for being on the ones and twos over there. She's done a mediocre job, as evidenced by the school she chose for her continuing education. Until next time, my name is Brandon Walker. You have been watching More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country.